My next guest is one of our finest actors. He won an Oscar for his performance in Reversal of Fortune and is currently appearing in a brand new movie called The Man in the Iron Mask. Please welcome Jeremy Irons. I half expected to see you turn up in Wellington boots, overalls and dungarees, because I'm told, you put me in my place or on, that you're currently working on a castle, building or rebuilding a castle.
Rebuilding.
In Ireland.
Yeah. It hasn't got a roof and it hasn't got floors. And
that's good.
It hasn't been lived in since 1600. So there's a lot of work to do.
This castle, if it is a castle, has it got a moat? Are we talking about ghosts?
No, it's on a little islet, a little island, connected to the mainland by a causeway and a bridge. It's very romantic. I saw my wife stand against it at one point. She was standing at the castle in the background and her hair was blowing. And I thought, that's the place for her. Because I'm going to do up the top floor, you see, and put her in there. and I'll know where she is.
It makes a change, as I say. First of all, you're building, which makes a change having English from building in Ireland. And then secondly, you talk about in one of the notes we read about you, your wife...
You read notes?
I read the notes. I read a lot of research about you. I know things about you, Jeremy.
No.
I'm going to make you squirm.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
I read that your wife, very talented actress, Sinead Cusack, that you, when you first saw her, you were attracted to her Irish wildness. What do you mean by that?
Well, anybody who loves an Irish man or an Irish woman knows what I mean. I mean, there is the Celts, you know, thank God for them, because us Anglo-Saxons, you know, we're all a bit sort of Germanic. And the Celts give us a lightness and they give us a fire. And because I've always been interested in breeding, both in people, horses and dogs, and this continues, I thought that would be a great mix to that rather stolid Irons that I was. A little bit of that, you know, wildness.
Were you a bit square, were you?
Yeah, really square. Yeah. All my life I've been square. I get better. I get better, less square.
Already, I'm surprised. You always play these severe parts, and here you are, joking away and seem totally relaxed.
Well, you see, I'm an actor.
Oh, I see.
I'm afraid.
Are you churning up inside?
Oh, please.
Look, it's strange. Here you are. You're a film star.
Of sorts.
No, come on. You've won Oscars.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. What about a night like that when you win an Oscar?
But I was in a strange situation because I sort of knew I was going to win.
What do you mean you said? And I've never had anyone say that to me.
Really?
I mean, you hadn't been informed.
No.
Just instinct, a feeling.
All the bookies gave me such extraordinary odds. And although I was up against wonderful actors, that I knew they'd either won or it wasn't their moment or whatever. And I was pretty sure I'd win. And I remember sitting there thinking, remember to include everybody in the speech, and remember to prepare a face for losing.
Just in case.
Just in case. Those are the two thoughts.
Let me see your losing face.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, yes. But in fact, I was terribly thrown because when they said it was me, I stood up, and sitting in front of me was Michael Jackson and Madonna, who'd come together for some extraordinary reason. And I'd met Madonna once. She'd asked me to do a movie which I decided not to do, and I felt rather embarrassed by this, that I'd said no. And I kissed Madonna. I stood up. They said, I won the award. I said, thank you very much. And I went on, and I kissed Madonna. And then I went up on stage. And everybody said, why did you kiss Madonna? And I said, well, I would have kissed anybody, actually, at that moment.
Michael Jackson?
I did very nearly, but yes.
The new movie, Man in the Iron Mask. Now, it's one of cast.
Yeah.
Yourself, let me see how much of this one. Gerard Depardieu.
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
John Malkovich.
Yeah.
They're going to run out of electric light bulbs outside the theatre. As long as I mean, was it a lot of fun? Because is it the swashbuckling thing and your sword fighting?
A lot of that.
Is it dangerous when you're doing all that stuff?
Terribly dangerous.
No stuntmen, is it actually you?
No, we had some stuntmen because the fights take so long and are so enormous that actually they can shoot a lot of them with second cameras. When we're off doing something else. So some of it is stunt work. The most dazzling sword play is the stuff I do.
Of course.
But there are stuntmen sort of doing
You know what you lack? Confidence.
Yes. It's all cover. It's all cover.
Well, according to, again, notes, we're back to notes, your little research.
Yeah.
I read that you and Gerard both share a passion for motorbikes.
Yeah.
I mean, you're an unlikely Hell's Angel, aren't you? I mean, either of you.
Well, I don't know. We look very good in our leathers, you know.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You haven't got any tattoos tucked away, have you, Jeremy?
No.
No.
No, if I... No.
Oh, no, I wouldn't want to see your tattoo.
No.
Oliver Reed once showed me his tattoo or talked to me about that. And
Did he?
I've never forgotten over that. I don't want to even talk about it. It makes me nervous.
Where was it?
Just below the equator. You play baddies quite a lot, especially on these big films. Die Hard with a Vengeance, you play the baddie in there. They seem to, the Americans, I don't know, maybe recently, or maybe it's just my imagination, people like Gary Oldman, Alan Rickman, they want English actors to play. Do you think that's because some of the American leading actors don't want to play the bad guy?
I think that might have something to do with it. You see, because most of us come from the theatre, and you don't think twice about playing Richard III, for instance, who's the worst baddie in the book, but it's a fantastic role. Yeah. And so we, you know, I think English actors tend to look at roles and think that's a cracking role. It's really interesting and involved, and yes, he's a baddie, but we don't think, as the Americans do, who tend, and this is a generalisation, but I think they tend to want to be honourable and loved and wholesome for their audience, because they think that's how they get the widest audience. And they're probably right.
Maybe their audience actually believes more that the character they're playing is them, as opposed to the British, who might think, oh, he's playing that part well.
That's right, maybe.
Things are going really super for you. I mean, we're talking about new movies. We're talking about Oscars, and Brideshead Revisited has just been on our screens again. Everything's going fine for you. It's a long way back to play away, isn't it?
It's never far enough, though.
No. That's lovely. Well, I'm sure you'll be pleased to hear we do have a clip.
Thank you very much.
No, I would like you to stay here. And see, perhaps you can tell us what's going on here.
Well, I wouldn't know. I didn't know at the time. I wouldn't know now.
Have a little look at this and take it.
Speeding away on our holiday, eating our lunch on the verge to save time. When we'll find a nearby gate and forget we might be late, and walk a while to feel the sunshine. For the world is full of wonderful things, if only we would care to step for a minute from the hubbub of life and stand and stare.
What do you remember of those days, the television, children's television? Was it something you saw as a stepping stone, a door to go through?
Yeah, it was just part of getting to know the business. You know, at that time I was doing Godspell in London, so I was doing my first West End show with David Essex and Julie Covington and Gay Soper, an extraordinary group of people. And I was just, you know, I wanted to get into television, and one way to do it was through children's telly, and also you could do it through those big drama series. I did a series called The Palaces at the same time. I began just to learn about cameras.
What about singing? Because I mean, you sounded good.
Well, I used to be a busker, you see.
Pardon?
I used to be a busker.
Oh, you did not?
Yeah, so I could be quite loud.
You sang where? In Oxford Street or a place like this?
No, I used to do cinema queues in Leicester Square and Shaftesbury Avenue, yeah.
And then you ended up in the movies?
That's right. But I was working as a social worker in Peckham, down in South London.
You've been around, boy. Yeah. You have been around.
And I got paid nothing. I got £2.10 a week. Yeah. And I used to put I made this sort of rack out of coat hangers on my bike, and I'd strap my guitar on the back of the bike, and I'd cycle up to the West End, get the bike off, and I'd sit down, and I'd start playing if there wasn't anyone else playing. And I could make £5 in a queue, which was a fortune. It was a 2 weeks' salary.
Tax-free?
That's right, tax-free. And you had to sing very loud, but the great thing about it was you met girls.
Yes?
Yeah, you used to meet girls. That was very nice.
But, I mean, it's amazing. There you are, from that onto the actual screen, from outside singing in a queue, onto the screen, and working with major films, major stars,
I've been
Meryl
very
Streep.
lucky. I've been lucky.
Everybody says that. Was that the harder you work, the luckier you get, I think they say.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of heavy-duty romantic bedroom scenes.
Oh,
and
dear.
I ask actors, I feel I'm getting truth from you tonight, so I want to get a truthful answer here. Don't tell me you're going to work, you know in 2 hours you're going to be kissing Michelle Pfeiffer. Do you bolt the breakfast down and say... I mean, are there rules, for instance? Is it no garlic, no smoking cigars? Did you say to her, don't smoke a cigar? I mean, what is it like? Can you get involved? Do you?
No, you can't, but you do on a certain level. I mean, it's very difficult to talk about this because you do want to. I remember the very first one I had to do on film, which was with Meryl Streep, and we were going to shoot it in a day, and we knew each other quite well. But she was in London with her husband and with her kids. I was in London with my husband and my kid.
You?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, Sinead is tough, but she's not that tough. I was in London. You see, it makes me nervous even talking about it. And I went into work, and for that day, as we made up and as we said good morning and as we went onto the set and walked through the scene, for that day, Meryl was my lover. And she's such a professional actress and such a chameleon that she just became my lover. And so it was entirely natural. There was no embarrassment about touching each other and kissing each other and holding each other, because... And then at the end of the day, it was over, and I went to dinner around with their family, and she was Meryl, the actress, you know, with her husband, Don.
It's funny, you're sitting having to pass the potatoes, and you've been in bed with her all day.
I know.
It's very funny.
But, you know, acting anyway is taking your emotional knickers off. I mean, that's what you do if you're going to do it well. You know, you open yourself up, and hopefully you sort of communicate with your own humanity to the audience's humanity. I mean, that's what you do, partly, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know, I've never had the pleasure.
No, Lisa, that's exactly what you do. I mean, I was watching you on the warm-up, and that's what you were doing.
Oh, I have. You give of yourself. You've got to.
Yeah. And so all you're doing with a love scene is taking perhaps your real knickers off. Or not, as the case may be.
Yeah, depending on how far the scene is going.
Yeah, absolutely.
You obviously, like many of the people you work with, now and again, I suppose there's the odd one. For instance, I'm told you didn't get on too well with Robert De Niro, did you?
No, we hated each other for a long time. Well, no, he hated me. I think. He wanted someone very different for the role. He wanted a much older man. He wanted a man who wasn't the actor. We're talking about a film called The Mission now,
yes,
which we did together. I just said that because I thought you'd probably forgotten the name of the film.
It's very kind of you.
Right.
I'll open up my own emotional knickers when I need to.
Anyway, he really didn't want me to be there, and I knew he didn't want me to be there, and we hardly talked to each other for about the first week, even though we were playing scenes together. But as soon as the camera stopped, but I think Bob used that. He used it because the characters really hated each other, or didn't understand each other. And I think because he's quite a method actor in that way, and he used that, and Roland Joffé, the director, let him do that. And about halfway through the movie, we had the most enormous row, and in a bus, I remember, and we were just slagging each other off and telling each other exactly what we thought. And we cleared the air, and back at the base camp, because we filmed this in Colombia, back at the base camp, the women, Sinead, who was there, and Tookie, who was Bob's girlfriend, heard about it. And so they said, come on, pasta, a lot of pasta. And they went out and they cooked up this amazing meal. And Bob and I got back in the evening, and we had a fantastic evening. And that sort of cemented our relationship.
A few drinks, maybe, just...
One or two, maybe. I've always thought you never really know someone until you've had a big fight with them and got over it. I'm never really comfortable with people until I've got through that point, you know?
You must be fun at parties. It's lovely talking to you. I have another theory. The film stars, in most people's minds, are film stars. They're not real people. So if they see a film star walking down the street, they go, oh, they look like him, I wonder. No. But if they see a television personality walking down the street, I'm referring now to Brideshead Revisited, which has been on our screens twice. And there is a story about that, about you being recognised.
That's right. It was when it first went out originally. Well, it can only first go out originally, can't it? When it originally went out first, you know. and I was at the time doing some work to the flat I lived in, and I was doing some plumbing, and I was down in Chalk Farm, which is a part of London, for those of you from Eastbourne, and I was in the builder's merchant, and I was buying some pipes, and I gave the guy a cheque, and he looked at the cheque. He said, "Oh," he said, "irons." He said, "That's the name of the moment, isn't it?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, Jeremy Irons, he's the new hunk." I said, "Oh, is he? Oh, lucky guy," I said, and I took my pipes out and went off.
Well, listen. Good luck with Man in the Iron Mask. I don't think it needs luck. You can currently see that, and it's worth a good look. That is. And whether you're goodie or baddie, it's great talking. You're a fun man. Jeremy Irons, legend.